Greetings, thus Polycam, and scanning through LiDAR with an iPad Pro, just like this, can be achieved using the LiDAR technology. Let's see some results. What I'd like to show is that it's not hard at all. Already this is a positive thing. Then you can focus on accuracy. It depends slightly on the amount of time you dedicate to it. Conducting a survey is acceptable. However, I would like to demonstrate the steps I have taken. I am completely new, let's say, to the world of Apple. I have never been an Apple customer. This iPhone was lent to me, and I purchased the Polycam application this morning in the professional version. I want to show what the free version allows, what the paid version allows. Is it necessary to have the paid version? No. However, what happens if I only have the free version? Let's see it together. So, this is what I see on the website when I enter Polycam and create an account. Then, of course, I have to install it on the tablet. At that point, I can see the surveys I do in the field online. This is how the free version of Polycam allows me to access and view my field surveys on the tablet through the website. Obviously, then I import the 3D model into SketchUp. The format with which you can view it in SketchUp, let's talk about it because they are not all the same, obviously, but this is the result. Let's see it right away. A 3D mesh. And it's all made of triangles. Then we observe the edges. Obviously, it is a mesh that is filled with triangles. And it has the applied materials, so I gain a little insight. Let's temporarily hate it, as this is the outcome that arises from the day format. The file is imported into SketchUp. After if he retraces it, it reconstructs the 3D or overlays it on what was the project to make a comparison for a check. I was more interested in knowing more or less the position of the plants before they do the plaster. They laid the window counterframes yesterday and are about to plaster, so before they cover all the traces on the walls, I want to have a 3D model of the situation. Some data retention on the iPad I'm using. They must be Pro-type iPads or Pro-type iPhones, and therefore the cost is easily around €1,000. I don't go into specifics. I'm not an iPad expert at all, and I'm not interested in being one at the moment. And let's say that €1,000 disappear, which one can consider as either a large or small amount. Well, if the phone rings, or anyway, I have the iPad with me. Many people have the professional version, and maybe they don't even know that they can conduct a survey of this kind. The iPad I used is a third generation 11-inch iPad Pro, which is definitely worth €1,000. It was costly for Fabio, dear Fabio, who loaned it to me. Well, let us take a look at the interface, shall we? I am currently on the construction site where I have taken a photo using the Polycam app to capture the interface. In the bottom right corner of the interface, there is a button that allows me to start the scanning process. Once initiated, the scan begins and the feedback I receive is consistently excellent. The interface displays a grid, which can be zoomed in to examine the scan in more detail. This grid corresponds to the location where the scan took place, as the LiDAR technology has a maximum range of 5 meters. To ensure accurate scanning, I need to move around the room and capture multiple scans from different positions. This also means that it is not comparable to a laser scanner or other surveying instruments, obviously also because of the cost it has, in short. But we know how it is with technology. It can take giant steps in a short time. But let's see then live the scan that I went to do. So now I try to do the whole apartment by taking a nice little walk after a few minutes of processing. The result is this. Okay, so I click upload so that I find it in my account later when I'm at the computer. I am aware that this may seem like a lengthy process, but it is necessary to ensure accurate measurements and detailed representations of the space. Therefore, I am willing to invest the time and effort required to achieve the best possible outcome. Alright, it has started snowing outside. The white flakes are gently descending from the sky, creating a beautiful winter wonderland scene. Via immediately in front of the PC, what do? The 3D reconstruction. I load my scan online, so then I find it as we are seeing it now in the app. Once I returned to the personal computer, I checked how I did it. So there on the spot, I used a normal distribution. I wrote down all my nice measurements and in such a way that I could compare them with the three-dimensional model once imported into SketchUp. There are a huge number of formats available. I took some screenshots because before purchasing it, I wanted to see what would come out if I clicked on export. This frame here, this message here, I took a screenshot just to show it. So there are many formats. Some of them are obviously locked. You need the professional version to use them. But there are some free ones like GL transmission format. So I tried with GL transmission format, and the point is that to import a format like that into SketchUp, you need to follow the specific steps provided in the software's documentation. SketchUp is not capable of importing it natively, so you are required to install Universal Importer, which is free of charge, and then import GLTF format. What is the problem? The question is about the size of the model. Specifically, there is a scaling issue. When importing it, there is a problem with the import process, so I don't even bother showing the steps. The import is flawed, and the precision is compromised even before starting to work on the model. The imported model is for charity, and it looks exactly like what we see. However, the DAE format is imported on a 1:1 scale. So, what action did I take to address this issue and ensure the proper import of the model? In practice, there were no other formats that could work well for me. The DAE, which is the one that can be easily and seamlessly imported into SketchUp, was blocked, so I had no choice but to make the purchase in order to proceed with my work. Then a monthly fee of $18, attention that is automatically renewed on a month-to-month basis. I made the purchase. You say $18 per month. It depends on how much you use it. Maybe it was on consumption, maybe it would be better in my opinion, because someone may not use it for a month, then use it the next month. Their model works like this. In short, it's a recurring subscription that can be cancelled anytime by customers. After completing the purchase, all the formats were unlocked for me, so I proceeded to take and download the DAE format. Although the SKP format is not available, it does not make any difference. I download the DAE format, which provides me with a folder of this particular type. Allow me to demonstrate. It is simply a regular folder containing the DAE file and all its associated textures that are generated. If I open it and examine its contents, it appears strange, absurd, and incomprehensible. However, the software recognizes the file and knows where to apply each of these small texture pieces onto the 3D model. Therefore, importing the 3D model at this stage is very straightforward. I open a new SketchUp file, click on the import option, import the file, and there are no additional choices or configurations to consider. I simply confirm the import action. To begin, I imported the necessary data, and this is the resulting output. Obviously, the main objective was to perform a thorough check on the measurements. However, before delving into that, let's take a moment to enjoy the 3D model. This is the initial test, conducted with greater precision. I estimate that the entire process took around a minute. I carefully turned around the room, examining it from various angles. As you may have noticed in the previous video, the 3D model appears even more precise when observed closely. The edges and overall shape of the room are accurately captured, giving it a nice and rectangular appearance. However, it's important to note that this level of detail was achieved quickly, as I was in a rush due to the impending arrival of workers. I couldn't help but wonder what would happen if I increased the speed of my movements. Would the accuracy of the 3D model be affected? Would there be noticeable inaccuracies or distortions? These are interesting questions that warrant further investigation. Despite these considerations, it's worth appreciating the current level of detail in the 3D model, which provides a sensible representation of the entire apartment. It means it took me about 3 mins in this case, but I did the whole apartment and went around every room. We should go a little slower, take a little bit of all the rooms, the corners, the padding of the doors, the windows, a little bit from various angles, so that the 3D model is reconstructed as best as possible. Here instead, I said, well, you know what, I'm going fast, let's see what comes out. If something comes out well, otherwise it'll have to be redone. So the good news is that a model has emerged. Can he close the rooms? The thickness of the walls is visible and it reads well. This is indeed a positive development. In instances where there are actual variations, it is clear that he managed to rebuild, in short, highlighting the brevity of the process. In the dark room, there's one without a window. If there's a windowless bathroom, the leader can't work there. You have the ability to perceive that he genuinely does not have a response, right, in the course of reconstructing that particular room. Well, simply being aware of that, I will utilize a spotlight or the flashlight on my phone, and I will have successfully resolved it. For the rest, everything good and complete. What is the bad news, though? That here the accuracy decreases. The descent is relentless. What is the precise amount we are referring to? We are talking about a few nice centimeters, because on the total length that is taken in the corridor, they are mercilessly 19 centimeters, and out of that, 18 centimeters is an enormity. This highlights the significance of the measurement and emphasizes the substantial nature of the 18 centimeters. It always depends a bit on the use you want to make of it, but let's say it doesn't really replace a real manual survey. How did I manage to make the comparison? I redesigned myself, so the outline of the measurements I had taken there on the spot, we see it there, we see it here, just like before. I produced this small volume, which is merely the measurements I captured on site. It is essential to remember that technologies like these can advance rapidly, so it appeared necessary to examine them closely. I will superimpose the model at the conclusion, once the work is completed, and it will be a fascinating experience to observe the model of the current state, the project model, the model of the work in progress, and the final last build model overlaid to draw conclusions and maintain a historical record of what has been accomplished. That concludes our discussion for today utilizing Polycam and SketchUp. We eagerly anticipate our next encounter. Until then, take care and stay safe.